Okay, guys. All right, everyone. How are we doing today? Hello, class. I'm going to turn off the music. Hello, class. How are we doing today, guys? We having a good day? We having a good time? I hope we're all having a good time. I'm wiggling my arms. So, Professor Bard, you forgot to call for attendance. Okay. Everyone who is here, please sound off in chat. Please give me a present in chat. Just say present, and then it'll obviously read as Brit50 present. And then I'll know who's present and who's not present. Hello, Thomas. Thank you for being present. Hello, Lynn. Hi, TNT. Hi, Bert. Hi, Cole. Hello, Maku. Hello, Luna. Hello, Talk. Hello, Christina. Not used to being lectured by you at 9 a.m. But yeah, you are. I don't have any presents. God damn it. Hello, Christina. Hello, Kitao. Not at 9 a.m. I mean 9 p.m. Yeah. I understand that. Okay, guys. So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to start out as being a streamer. And do you get what I did here on the front page? So you get it, because like these are like streamers, like party streamers, like the decoration, not like streamers the job or the hobby. You get it? Talk. You get it?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Wow.
So 9 p.m. lectures are difficult to get up for, man.
Bruh. So, ladies and gents, I hear you want to be a streamer. Well, it's a very long process that can be very rewarding, but there's a lot that you should know before you get started. So, to start us off, I'm gonna run you through the we're gonna start with the negatives. I want you guys to know what you're getting in with. So, get ready. If you're gonna start streaming, get ready for imposter syndrome, parasocial relationships, constant feelings of anxiety, a lack of privacy, constantly receiving trauma dumps, and people leveraging money against you. These are all super common things that happen when you're a streamer, especially when you start building an audience. And we'll go through those a little bit for people who don't necessarily understand all of those. But if you can make it through all of those and constantly win your battles against the hedonic treadmill, then congratulations, you have somehow ascended into godhood. But if you haven't and you can't get that all under wraps, that's perfectly fine. Welcome to the streaming life, guys. You're gonna love it, I hope. So as a quick glossary for those of you who don't know what those terms mean, we'll go through some of the ones that are maybe a little bit less well known. So imposter syndrome is basically just what we call that feeling where you don't feel like you've necessarily earned the success or the position that you're currently in, even though you may legitimately have the skills. Is just that feeling of, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is very prevalent in streaming, mainly because content creation is like 20%. It's like a solid 70% luck on when and how you are able to succeed. So that feeling of imposter syndrome can really hit, especially if you are, friends with other people who've been streaming a long time, and suddenly, you've been streaming a lot less, and then you suddenly pop up, start popping off. It can really feel, other people deserve this more than I do. Parasocial relationships are the term that we coin when talking about relationships that are one-sided or only perceived by one side. With streaming, this can very commonly happen between chat members and a streamer, typically because the chat member gets a much more intimate view of the streamer themselves. They get to see them, they watch them live out their lives or play games, or are constantly hanging out with this person. Whereas on the streamer's end, a lot of the time it is just a name on a screen. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that in itself is bad, right? There are definitely legitimate relationships that can be formed like that, but the importance is on the viewer to make sure that they are not obsessing or misinterpreting what that relationship is or could be. There's that very specific gap right here on each side, where, this is just like, cool, this is a cool streamer that I watch and I enjoy the content of, and we are friendly, and this is me and the streamer are best friends, and he or they love me, and I love them, and everything is great, and we are the bestest buddies. Meanwhile, the streamer's just there like, hi. It's a difficult one to navigate. The hedonic treadmill, which is a we're going to apply this to streamers, and this is the applied to streamers definition as defined by me. The hedonic treadmill, for those of you who don't know, is the genetic baseline for happiness within each individual person. So this is the theory that we as human beings have a baseline happiness level. And within that baseline, we always return to it. Either we go up, like eventually we'll be sad for a while, eventually we'll go back up to that baseline, or if we're feeling particularly happy on a day, we'll go back down to that happiness baseline. It's different for every person. But yeah, that's kind of what we mean by the hedonic treadmill in a vacuum. As applied to streamers, I would define the hedonic treadmill as kind of that baseline in regards to happiness, but it's constantly shifting upwards, if that makes sense. So as a streamer, you might start off with an average 2 viewership, you reach 10, and that becomes your new average, like concurrent. And then you start to become used to it being 10, at which point you stop being necessarily overly happy that your viewership is now at 10, and you're like, okay, this is just the normal, I want to get 20 viewers now. And then you hit 20, that becomes normal, you stop finding joy in that, etc., etc. Understood? Fantastic. And then finally, a trauma dump is basically a colloquialism, which is like a slang term for when someone comes up to you and goes, here are all of my traumatic experiences. You didn't ask, but here they are. Now, this isn't necessarily always bad, and there are definitely spaces and streamers who accept trauma dumps and encourage them. But in a lot of cases, this is just a thing that happens on Twitch, whether or not it is explicitly said. Sound good? We all good? That was the glossary. That's a lot of the heavy lifting. So, now that we've gotten through all of the potential mental struggles and relationship barriers that you may get into streaming, let's talk about what you need to get started. Typically, if you want to go into streaming in a big way, you're going to want some financial security, an absurd amount of free time, a whole buttload of mental resilience, just an incredible amount of attention to everything going on. And of course, did I mention money is a thing that you're probably going to want when you're just streaming, because unfortunately, for 99% of streamers, you are not going to be making any money for a long time, if ever. Now, I'm a firm believer that anyone who streams smart and is dedicated enough will eventually find that niche and will eventually grow a following. But that doesn't mean that can happen instantly or in any sort of timely manner. This is something that takes a lot of time, and as I said earlier, is like 70% luck-based. There's obviously that huge gap there at the end that's, motivation, drive, effort, time that you put in, all that good stuff. But there's a lot of this right place, right time, people etc. kind of thing. So if you want to get started on Twitch in a big way, make sure that you have another form of revenue behind you, whether that's you're in college or university and you have student loans to cover you up, whether you're, a younger person and you're still living off of your family, whether that's you just have a full-time job that supports you financially and you want to start as a hobby and see how it takes you, perfectly fine. But it's really important to make sure that you're financially stable and that you aren't just streaming and hoping for an income that might not come for a long, long time. The absurd amounts of free time is going to come with, building up the stream and putting in the hours and really kind of making that effort, putting in the grind. That's a thing that you can do along any span. It could be an absurd amount of free time within a month, within a year, etc. But you will need a lot of free time to dedicate to streaming if you are serious about making it a career. Mental resilience is mainly for Twitch chat, because Twitch chat is filled with f***ing goblins who suck at your soul and want to see you suffer at every corner. I love you, chat, but it's true. You are a goblin. The attention that you need is basically just to keep track of everything that you need to be doing, whether that's live stream and external content, having extra social media presences, paying attention to a community, etc., etc. And of course, money. That's just a reiteration of the first point. So moving away from the mechanical things that you might need, let's talk about why you're streaming. Because it's all about motivation, baby. What drives you to stream is going to have an impact on your content, how you approach different situations, how you approach chat. It makes a huge difference in a streamer that you can definitely tell. You can tell if a streamer's just in it for the money, if they're just in it for the fame, if they're in it to genuinely entertain people, or if they're in it to build a community and to be a part of a community. Now, that's not to say that any of these motivations are inherently bad. Streaming for money is a perfectly valid thing to want. You know, if you want to make a career out of something that you love, playing video games or entertaining people or whatever form of content you want to do while live, perfectly valid. Wanting to be famous is, also a valid one. This one's a little sketchy. The things that you have to be kind of wary about if you are looking to stream for money or fame are that, again, it's going to take a while to cultivate that. Or you just have to get exceptionally lucky with your timing and how that all pans out for you. Streaming to genuinely entertain people can be super rewarding in of itself, but it does come with its own challenges. Typically, if you are of an entertainment mind and you are streaming to less and less people, it can kind of pile up and you can be like, well, there's no one here for me to entertain, so what am I doing? It's going to often lead to your zero viewer Andys sitting alone, just kind of goblin, tap on keys, play game kind of thing, where they aren't necessarily interacting with anyone or anything, but they're just playing the game. A similar problem, or a similar amount of problems, comes from the community tab. If you want to grow a community and be a part of a community on Twitch, then that is something that, again, takes a lot of time and effort to cultivate, but it can be insanely rewarding. Having a community on Twitch is having a community on the internet, which is in itself a very isolated and lonely place. And I can tell you now, as a streamer, it becomes very, very rewarding when you can see and you can appreciate your community coming together and using the spaces that you've created to have a sense of home and have a sense of belong. It's very, very gratifying as a creator to be able to put together that space. But again, with basically all but three of these, because you can start streaming and be entertaining people straight away as long as you have people in there to entertain. But the rest of these definitely do take time. And there are all sorts of other motivations not covered here. If you have other ones, sound them off in chat. I'd be excited to read through them and have a look. So we've talked about motivations. Now let's start getting into the things that you need to learn and the things that you need to collect before you can start really streaming. Now, a lot of people will start talking to you about the tech that you need, about the software that you need. I'm going to start off with a little underappreciated section of the Streamer's Handbook, streamer etiquette. Because there's a lot that needs to be taught to new streamers about the etiquette of Twitch and other live streaming platforms as a whole. So we got a little do's and do nots section here. We're going to go through the do nots first, then we'll go over to the do's. So, do not advertise in other streamers' chat. And this includes you in the chat who sneak it in subtle ways. You know who you are. We all know what you're doing. Right? These are your people who come in and they go, oh man, I was talking to my chat about this the other day. Or, yeah man, just finished streaming and now I'm here. Great to see you. These are typically uninvited people who do this. Not all the time is it malicious. Sometimes these statements do just come out, especially when you are actively having a conversation. And if it comes up in natural conversation, that's perfectly fine. If a streamer goes, hey, what do you do for work? Or do you stream yourself? Does anyone in chat stream? That's an invitation to share that that you potentially have a stream. Even then, Yeah, so this doesn't just cover your, oh, Blazybard, what a great stream this is. It's a shame that I have to go because I'm about to go live over on my channel. Click my profile to come over. If you want, it'll be a great time. That's your overt, that's your overt kind of promoters. But yeah, as I said, you have your kind of, more subtle ways where people are, more on the lines of, hey, oh yeah, that reminds me of this crazy conversation I was having with chat. These are the subtle ways, but we all know what you're doing. The next thing that that I see way too often in smaller streamers is follow for follow schemes. Don't do these. They don't work. Don't encourage these. That's bad. The follow for follow, I think we can go ahead and debunk right now because it's, we know it doesn't work because typically when people use this kind of model, it's for their own kind of selfish reason, right? You'll follow someone, they'll follow you back, and then as soon as they have what they want, they'll unfollow you or you'll unfollow them. Typically, it's really funny because you see the follow, and then one person unfollows and then the other person unfollows, and it's a vicious cycle. So just don't do it. Followers especially are something that I feel a lot of smaller streamers and content creators as a whole get really wrapped up in. But I'll tell you right now, it isn't the size of the following that matters, it's your CCV dong. For those of you who aren't aware, CCV is what we call concurrent viewership. It is your average viewers number, and that is something that is way more valuable than your current amount of followers. I could have 17,000 followers and only 5 average viewers, and another friend or another streamer could have 10 followers with 30 viewers. It's completely dependent on the style of content, what kind of person that is. But the CCV, your average viewership, is really the number that you want to look at. Especially if we're talking about advertisers and sponsors, they're typically looking at that number. Even on the YouTube side, permanent content, you're not looking at how many subscribers someone has, you're looking at how many views they averagely get on a video. So if I'm getting however many million, if I'm getting 2 million per video, when an advertiser approaches me, they're going to offer me an amount based on that number, not an amount based on the fact that I have 3 million subs. So typically your follow for follow schemes, they're just not worth it. They don't help anyone, they're very short-sighted, and they're just generally not the best. Another thing I see from some younger streamers, we'll do that again. Another thing that I see from younger streamers, from newer streamers, is this kind of expectation that they deserve someone's follow or sub or tip in any way, shape, or form. These people are, typically the $5 people, $5 a month. These kind of people who are very entitled to people's money. Now, I can absolutely understand that, yes, there was a guy who came into your chat and he was talking with you for 20 minutes and then he just left without following, and that's super frustrating, but that person doesn't owe you a follow. They don't owe you any of their time, and just like they don't owe you any of their time, they don't owe you any of their money either. This is, I feel like less and less prevalent, but it's something that definitely still comes up where people are pressured or, overly encouraged into this gift sub, bit, tip mentality. And I just want all you guys to know at home, this is free content that you do not have to pay for in the slightest. Any support that you do give is, of course, welcomed and appreciated. But I stream for free. For all intents and purposes, I stream for free. So if you want to enjoy this content for free, you're more than welcome to. I just hope that you enjoy ads. And this is why I'm going to put an ad roll in the YouTube video. And finally, let's touch on another thing that I see a lot of short-sighted people using. This is the follower or subscriber only chat. I'm sure you guys have seen it out there in the wild, but when somebody has, 4 people watching and you see that big cannot type follower only chat enabled, I don't know about you guys, but I am just so likely to just go, nope. And even if I do decide to sit and stay, I will typically follow if I really, really want to talk, and then I'll typically unfollow before I leave. And honestly, that's, I feel like, a pretty general response to these kinds of models, right? We've already talked about follow for follow and why follow account doesn't actually really matter. But when talking about follower only chat, the motivation I see for a lot of these smaller streamers is that they want to increase their following. They want to get more people in. But this does have the complete reverse effect. It drives people away. It makes them feel like they have to buy in before they're able to try the product. It's like going up to someone on the street with a bunch of yogurt samples and going, "Hey, would you like this yogurt?" And they go, "Oh yeah, sure, dude, that sounds great." And then you yank it away from them and go, "You have to grab a spoon that like is behind this little cardboard box first. You have to show me that you are committed enough to like wear this hat with my name on it. And then you can have a yogurt." Right? That's kind of what you're doing. You are forcing this person to commit to you before they know you or your product. And on Twitch, on any live streaming platform, that doesn't fly. Now, of course, it's different if you have tens or thousands of people talking all at once and you want to kind of slice that down a little bit and kind of corral the crowds and clean up your chat a little bit so you can interact with people. That is perfectly acceptable and fair. If you're rocking 20k viewers, why are you even watching this? This is a lecture for new creators. Get out of here. But this is very much useful for those situations where you want to cut down on chat when you have a lot of people in already. Under no circumstance should this be used by small streamers. We're gonna cut that one out too. Ow. Just slammed my arm against the desk. Ow, 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 ow. Okay. Cool. Don't applaud me. That was dumb. As for the things that you can and should do is when you're looking for other creators to kind of network with and interact with, do go and hang out in other people's chats. Experience their community, experience their content, get to know the person and the community that you're trying to ingratiate yourself into. Once you hang out there for a little while, you can, talk to the streamer off stream, mention it in the Discord potentially, if prompted. This is another situation where unless there is a dedicated channel for self-promotion, it is safer to just not say anything than to start babbling on about your chat and your own stream. You want to still make sure that you are being respectful to whichever creator that you're talking to, no matter what the size of the person is. If anything, probably more so for smaller streamers, because, it's a smaller stream. You don't want to take away viewers from someone who's in your position, A raid is a really, really great example of a method you can use to let other people know that you are, in fact, a content creator. If you are, sitting with 5 people at the end of your stream, raid someone else with a similar number, between 0 and 10. Probably not the 0, because he is a 0. No, think tactically for yourself, right? When it comes to raiding, when it comes to networking as a smaller streamer, you want to make sure that you are networking with people within your size bubble. If you aim too high, you might be seen as someone who's trying to grab attention or, forcibly try and climb the ladder. Not that larger streamers don't appreciate raids. It's just from your perspective, you should be looking to raid people you can collaborate with, people of a similar size to you, people you get on with well. Raiding is a really, really great method of letting them know that you're there, letting them know that you do stream, and after the stream, you can just be like, "Hey, hit me up sometime, let's play a game together." It's a really easy way of doing it, really natural. A lot of people will be very, very grateful for any amount of extra viewers that you throw their way, no matter the size of the channel. Just do be careful when it's the other way around. Make sure that you do your research on who you are collaborating with, which is another big thing that you should be doing when you are looking to make content with other creators. Make sure you know the style of content that they're going to be bringing to the table. Make sure that they're not going to be effing and blinding on your stream that is particularly family friendly. Just make sure that your content aligns in a way that you guys are going to make productive and cohesive content that works for both of your audiences. And as a final note on the do's column, feel free to take inspiration from what other streamers are doing. If you see something that you like, take inspiration from it, but don't take it. There's a very fine line there between plagiarism and inspiration, and it's somewhere along the lines of color scheme, implementation, shape. For example, I know a good friend of mine, Greg Plays Games, who has a fantastic YouTube channel that you can find here. Nope, here, if I can work out how to edit that in. But he, on his YouTube channel and also on his Twitch, uses this really interesting and cool hexagonal camera frame. Not something you commonly see, but those like interestingly shaped cameras are definitely a thing. Now, if I wanted to steal that, I could take the exact color, the exact overlay, the shape of it. I could take all of that and use it for my own stream. But if I wanted to take inspiration from it, I might put my own spin on it, put my own colors in, maybe change the shape of the camera, move it to a different place, use it in a different overlay, etc. There is a very, as I said, fine line between stealing and inspiration. And if you're ever worried about, where that line is, shoot the creator a message. See if they're okay with it. A lot of the time, I guarantee you, they'll be fine with it. But especially if it's a more unique idea, like a personal identity, maybe don't. Like, for example, if I found out another Smite streamer was using ties as, like, a thing, I'd be pretty upset. Because that's my thing, and that's a very unique thing for me. But if they used socks, that would be inspiration. Yeah, sure. That would be a pretty decent, way of defining the difference between inspiration and theft. Yeah, if someone were to go, I put on an extra jacket for every 10 subs. Similar, but unique to themselves, right? No one's going to shank you for taking that kind of inspiration and using an idea that someone has in your own way. Or, hear me out, start out with all the clothes in your closet. For every 5 subs, you take off 1 piece. Oh, that, I think, belongs on a different website. Okay. So, that's all the etiquette that I had in mind covered. Of course, there are other do's and don'ts, but you'll have to figure those out for yourselves. For the most part, though, you can take these as the broad strokes and just fill in the rest of the gaps with be considerate and don't be a dick. If there's a McDonald's right across the street from you, don't, open your own restaurant right next door and then go into the McDonald's and go, hey, wow, love the burgers. This milkshake is delicious, but I've got this small place next door and I think you guys would just love it. So, when you're done here, you should, hop next door and just, check it out. It's really cool. I think you'd really like it. Just don't do that. No one wants your crappy second-rate McDonald's. Don't do it. Just don't. So let's move on to the hardware. For real, let's talk about equipment. I didn't think of the wording on this. Now, my good friend Baloo here is going to talk to you about the bare necessities for streaming. And what you're going to want for streaming is 1 monitor, 1 mouse and keyboard each. That's not like 1 mouse keyboard combination monster. Oh, that would be cool. I want a mouse keyboard now. Why have I done this to myself? Anyway, you'll want a functioning PC tower so that you can actually stream from, or alternatively, a console with a console setup, and streaming software. That's all you need as a bare necessity. Necessity. They're the same word. But in technicality, you still need a little bit more in terms of your things. I would recommend 1 microphone, 1 webcam at least, or a digital alternative. VTubers are very popular at the moment, and no one's going to fault you for starting up a VTube-based channel. If you aren't comfortable showing your face, this is a really good way of still being able to make that connection. The reason webcams and microphones are so important on Twitch is, yes, while there are some streamers who are successful without them, having them allows your audience to connect with you on a, more personal level. Now, this hopefully doesn't develop to your parasocial level, but still being able to make that connection is a big part of why live streaming content is so appealing, because it's right there. It's direct. You get to talk to the person on the screen and see how they react to your messages. When you don't have a microphone or a webcam, you rob the audience of that ability to connect to you on a more human level. I would also recommend getting some alerts. Now, this isn't just your follower or sub alerts. Get all of them. Even if it's just base alerts, make sure that you have something set up for raids, for hosts, just in case. You never know when someone is going to come along and raid you. I dropped a pretty big raid on a friend of mine the other night, for example, and he didn't have any of those raid notifications left on. Now, luckily, Pinder was very perceptive and was able to recognize the raid and address it as such. We had a nice conversation. But I have had interactions with other smaller streamers who don't have that raid alert locked in just yet and completely missed the raid. And it's like, I just dumped like a whole bunch of people on you here and you did not realize in the slightest. Raids can be huge opportunities, but you need to make sure you know they're there so that you can capitalize off of them. Moving on into some important extras that you'll definitely want once you start growing, maybe once you start making a little bit of money from YouTube, from content creation as a whole. Grab yourself a second monitor, maybe even a third monitor if you have the space or budget for it. Having that extra monitor space is going to let you do so much more with your setup. I mean, having chat on screen without having to use your phone as a chat window, being able to pull up different things, change games, have a lot more ability to work with your streaming software on the fly. It's just so infinitely helpful to have multiple monitors. I have 3. I've got one here in the center for my actual gameplay, one here on the left, which is typically hosting my OBS, which is the streaming software that I use to clarify, and then this one over here on the right, which I use for Discord, chat, games, all that kind of stuff. Anything extra goes on the third horizontal monitor over here. The next thing that you're probably going to want once you start getting a little bit more into streaming is some sort of mixer for your audio. This can be a physical mixer like the Go XLR that I have just down here, or it can be a digital software mixer like Mixpad, WavePad, or VoiceMod. What this is going to let you do is just balance out your audio a little bit more responsively and a little bit finer. I think I just saw a daddy long legs. Okay, we're fine. It's going to let you balance out that audio a little bit better. So say if you have someone who's in voice chat, for example. Talk.
Hello.
I can now, if Talk's a little bit quiet, I can up him on my mixer here.
Hello.
Or if he's too loud, I can put him right back down.
Hello.
And I can find that sweet spot where everything balances out just right.
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you, Talk, for your help. My fabulous assistant, ladies, my beautiful TA. And finally, you are going to want yourself a lighting system. I have a 3-point lighting system in this room. I've got my big light up here, my lamp on the desk, and then this crappy light up here that never turns on. This isn't ideal. I would rather have a more functioning 3-point setup. I do have another big studio light that I would like to set up behind me. I don't have the space in this room, unfortunately, but when I move, who knows? Fingers crossed. So at the moment, I have a 2-point lighting system, which is this and the lamp. Those of you who attend my real life classes know what a 3-point lighting system is. For those of you who don't, come to university. So now that we've talked about the hardware, let's move on to the software. Now, there's a lot of streaming softwares out there, ladies and gents, so I thought it would be fun to give you a quick musical presentation on all the ones out there. So, let me start. We don't talk about Streamlabs, no. XSplit will make you sad, sad. Twitch Studio. Bum, bum, bum. Who knew slobs could look advanced? Advanced, 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 advanced. This is the one that you want. This is the one you want. OBS, honey, the one that you want. This is the one you want. OBS, the one that you need. Oh, yes, indeed. OBS is the one that you want. OBS, we're going to go into the details now. So, Slobs and Twitch Studio, they're not all that bad. If you're a beginner and you want something quick and easy to set up, these are your go-tos. They are typically very easy to use and very easy to kind of get your head around, but they're not really very deep. You can't really add your own twists, and there are some very serious limitations to each of them. XSplit is pretty intuitive, actually, and has a lot in the way of editing your overlays on the fly. It also has an inbuilt video editing software, which can be useful to you guys if you don't have an external video editing software, or if you just want to quickly cut something in the moment. But the problem with XSplit is that the streaming software isn't as good as OBS, and the editing software isn't as good as basically anything else that you can find. It might be better than some of the free market stuff, but if you can get a subscription to Premiere Pro or Vegas, I would recommend doing that. Even something like Camtasia would be a much bigger upgrade to XSplit. And then finally, you have OBS here, which might take a pretty chunky bite out of your CPU, but it is infinitely deep and pretty easy to use. I'm talking customizable plugins that you can find for basically any situation around the internet. And it's, you know, people give OBS a bad rap, but in reality, it's just as easy to use as Slobs or Twitch Studio is. Just takes a little bit more learning. So some of your other options, you've got Gamecast, which is just for the gamers, bro. You've got the Browser Bros here that are available on consoles for all you console streamers, which is... Oh my gosh, I cannot think of the name of this. Hold on, chat. I gotta quickly. I didn't write it down in my notes. And then here you've got the Browser Bros, which are available on consoles for those of you guys who are streaming from a PS4 or an Xbox. You've got Lightstream Studio, which is that one on the right, and then Melon, which is the one on the left. They are both available on browser, and they're pretty fine. They're just standard. Nothing special, but also pretty useful if you want a decent-looking console-based stream where you don't have all those default layouts and stuff like that. And then finally, you have vMix, which is a professional software at a professional price. There's a reason you don't see a lot of streamers investing in vMix, because it's typically more used for large-scale productions, things like news productions, live kind of events that you see on TV. A lot of esports studios use vMix as well. It comes at a very high price. I'm talking like, I'm pretty sure it's 200 or a 199.99, I believe is the price. Don't quote me on that. It's something pricey. But if you can get your hands on it, if you somehow have a key or the money to spend on a very professional streaming software, I don't know why you would go for that when OBS is perfectly free and just as good. If a little clunkier, it doesn't do as many things, but vMix is always there if you have a hankering to spend way too much money on something you can get for free. And in essence, what is a streamer if not someone who wants to spend way too much money on something you can get for a lot cheaper? Quoting the Shure SM7B microphone, the Go XLR Stream Deck, the Go XLR mixer, the Elgato Stream Deck, these lights, DSLR cameras. There's a lot of expenditure in streaming that just probably isn't necessary. As someone starting out, do you think it'd be nice to just use pretty basic alerts or try to find stuff that's unique and suits you? Honestly, it's always going to be better to find unique alerts that are really personalized to you. But in the meantime, while you're figuring out what you want those alerts to be, just get something basic in. It doesn't matter, just as long as you have something there, even just as a placeholder while you figure out something else. Of course, you want to find something that's unique to you, that expresses you, that is relevant to your community. But in lieu of that, while you're finding out what that identity is, because a lot of the time when you're starting out on Twitch or any live stream content platform, you don't necessarily know what that identity is. It took me 3 years to figure out kind of the niche I wanted to content in, what my selling points are, like what I'm doing, the kind of character I want to play, etc. Like those are things that you figure out as you go on. So don't worry about not having any like unique alerts or anything like that while you're just starting out, but it is definitely a priority thing to update and change. Cool. So, without any further ado, let's move on now to... I mean, we've been talking about all the depressing stuff, all the kind of harder hitting stuff. We started out with mental health. We're now talking about the hardware and software barriers. Let's talk about the benefits of streaming, because there are good things too, guys. There are good things too. There are some great things about streaming. Streaming can provide you with a sense of community, and I know we've already been over this, but I really want to highlight it. When you have a stream community, it is something just kind of unreal. It's like an episode of Cheers. For those of you who don't know what Cheers is, look it up. I'm not going to explain it to you. But it's like, you know, you get to be the bartender at this bar, and you get to know all the regulars. You get to make them feel welcome. You get to go, hey, I remember you. You came in like 2 months ago, and then I haven't seen you since. How have you been? You get to go, I know you. You come in every single day. How's work? You know, you get to have these conversations with people and, you know, make that connection. I know that for me, at least, I love entertaining people. That's kind of my whole shtick. If I get to entertain just one person in a day, I'm pretty happy. Just in general. So, you know, getting to a point where I can regularly entertain large amounts of people is something that is so special to me, because entertaining someone inherently makes their day better. For me, the knowledge that every time I stream, there's at least a couple people whose day is made better by my weird ramblings and insane noises and occasional honks. Honk! In all honesty, there is a very real part of me that knows that every time I stream, I'm making 1 or 2 people's day at least just a little bit better. And that makes a lot of it worthwhile for me. If I know that I'm having a kind of crappy day, streaming helps a lot of the time, because the people in there are incredible. The people in my stream are just really lovely, and I get to hang out with them, and I get to make them happy, and they get to make me happy. It's a win-win situation. And of course, this is a great job to have. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Being able to stream and being able to go, hey, landlord, here is my rent. I paid for it with money that people gave me because I'm good at my job. It's such a good feeling to be able to pay my rent, to pay my bills with something that I love to do. I know that sounds really reductive, and I know that people say when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That is absolute bullshit. Streaming is still definitely a job. There are days where it absolutely sucks and that I hate life, but that by far is outweighed by just the genuine joy I get from doing this job. So we've talked about why a community can be so great when it comes to streaming. How do you get that community going, right? I want to make sure that everyone out here hears me. Twitch especially, if you're a Twitch user, do not spend 50 hours a week streaming in a category that's already bloated with people when you have 0 to few viewers. There's very little discovery on Twitch. There's very little searchability. There's no algorithm for recommendations, which means that you just putting in a lot of hours and streaming for a long time isn't necessarily going to help you grow. It can. You certainly can grow like that, but it's going to take a lot of energy. When I say stream smart, I'm talking about making a consistent schedule and streaming As an example, 3 hours a stream, 4 streams a week. This is something that's perfectly manageable and attainable while still being a fair amount of hours. I mean, you're talking 12 hours of commitment. That's a part-time job right there. This not only, in a consistent schedule, lets the people who do see you know when you're going to be back next and when they can expect more content from you, but it also means that the people who do discover you are going to see those 3 hours when you are at your best. This is when you have all the energy that you need to be entertaining or to play well or to do whatever it is that you do that you need energy for. Whereas if you're on hour 12 of your second 50-hour stream of the week, people might come in, see that you're kind of tired and run down and go, this isn't the guy for me. When in reality, they could have been the perfect fit for you as a viewer, or you could have been the perfect fit for them as a streamer. So stream smart, not hard. And use other social media platforms to your advantage. We're going to get into this in a couple of slides, but make sure that you're using your content as evergreen content. Repackage your clips as YouTube shorts. Repackage your VODs onto a YouTube VOD channel. Send out highlights on Instagram or TikTok. Use these other platforms to your advantage. These platforms that have far more searchability, discoverability, just everything like that. Use them, utilize them, make them yours, because oh my gosh, are they so valuable. And this is a lot of the reason why I've started the YouTube project, which for those of you on YouTube right now is what you're watching. This is week 2 of the YouTube project, the project where I make a new video every week and release it on a Saturday. Finally, here on how to gather a strong audience is making sure that you have a strong selling point. This can be your personality. Maybe you're just really, really funny. You might have insane production values on your stream, and people might just come around to see the insane transitions and overlays that you've cracked up now. Or you could just be really, really good at a specific game. You can align basically every streamer into one of those 3 categories, and even the ones who are far out there are... Sorry, I should clarify, the gameplay point also applies to... Maybe you're really, really good at singing, and you're singing in the singing category. Maybe you are really good at drawing, and you're in the art category. My point is, with the gameplay in that etc. list, there is you have a skill that is very, very interesting to watch. Anything like that makes you stand out is going to be super helpful, and it also allows you to brand yourself and push yourself into that niche and discover an audience who enjoys you for that thing. And that way you can move away from whatever it is that you're, doing on a macro level and still maintain the micro play. For example, I like to think that my strong selling point is my personality. I'm a funny guy. Ha 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 ha. See, I made myself laugh just there. And because of that, I like to think that I can transition away from making smite-based content, which is, again, part of the YouTube project. Go subscribe to me on YouTube. And it's something that, I'm now dealing with because I didn't diversify my content earlier. And this kind of feeds into that. What kind of content are you making? Is it educational? Is it gameplay content? Is it just general entertainment? Is it unboxing? Making sure that you find out what kind of content works well for you and that you enjoy is really, really important. Try everything. If you have something that you think is even remotely interesting that you can do and stream, make sure that you try it. Give it a couple of streams. If you can play the banjo, do a couple banjo playing streams. If you're really, really good at Slime Rancher, play the hell out of some Slime Rancher for a little bit. See what works, see what sticks. You're just starting out. You have nothing to lose by experimenting and seeing what works for you. And once you find content that you enjoy making and that people enjoy watching, that's when you know that you can start drilling down and getting a little bit deeper into that niche. As a quick aside, I want to touch on brand deals. This is something that typically you won't see as a smaller streamer, at least for a long time, but it's very interesting to consider and very important to be aware of some of the kind of sketchier practices that you can get drawn into as a new streamer. You should be very aware of schemes that are affiliateships, things that are like, hey, if you put our logo and a notification in your chat every now and then to let people know that you have a link, you will get X amount back on this on whatever people buy, and they can have a small discount. Now, in theory, these sound really, really good. You get, you get money from whatever sales that you make, and the company gets exposure. But in reality, in a smaller stream, a lot of the time you're not going to be making those sales very often, or at least not often enough to be giving free advertisement for something that you might not necessarily even enjoy. Now, fair enough, if this is a energy drink that you particularly use a lot and you really like the idea of being endorsed by them, even if it's just a affiliateship, that's fine. And of course, it comes down to personal preference. But do consider that if you, for example, are signed with energydrinkcorporation.com and they give you a 5% kickback on whatever your audience buys, and they in return get to advertise on your stream every 30 minutes. Your stream has an average of 5 viewers, and your viewers aren't particularly motivated to buy anything. Now consider that energydrinkincorporated.co.uk, I forget what I said, has 10,000 people just like you with about 5 average viewers all doing the same thing. Now, in essence, what that company has is, what's 5 times 10,000? 50,000. Yeah, 50,000. I was right the first time. They, in essence, have 50,000 new sets of eyeballs on their product for what is essentially free, right? Sure, like you might make a sale here or there, but you're not really seeing real returns for that time that you are spending advertising this company. And being affiliated with a certain company has its own risks. What if potential viewers don't like that company and therefore may enjoy your content, but don't want to support you because they don't want to support a certain company? What if a company does a absolute mess up and decides halfway through a giveaway that they don't want to give away the thing to a certain person because that person isn't big enough for a giveaway that they already selected that person for? Not that that's happened recently. As a final note here, guys, we already touched on your evergreen content, but I just want to double stress it right now. You guys need to be transitioning your content to other platforms that are more discoverable. I'm talking Facebook. I'm talking Instagram. I'm talking YouTube. I'm talking Pinterest. I'm talking Snapchat and Twitter, and even LinkedIn. I think I already said LinkedIn. And I have the hiccups. Nope, they're gone. Google Plus is also... Can't even make it. Google Plus isn't real. It can't hurt me because it's not real. My therapist said so. You can make sure that you are repackaging your content and spreading it elsewhere. But guys, above all else, the absolute most important tip I could ever possibly give you for starting streaming is to have fun. Because your streams are only going to be at their best when you are having a good time making the content that you're making. And trust me, viewers know when you're not having a good time. They can sense it, like blood in the water. It's like a sixth sense. And some people are into that. Some viewers are really into watching a streamer be miserable and not enjoying themselves. But 9 out of 10 times, if you're not having fun, the content's not going to be as engaging to watch. So make sure that you're having fun with whatever it is that you're doing. Because at the end of the day, why do something if it doesn't bring you joy? Thank you all so much for attending my TED Talk. You are all now free to piss off. I love you all very much. And I'm going to speak directly to the camera over here now for a second. Guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit and listen to this lecture. It's been a really interesting passion project for me. I do teach in real life. I'm a university lecturer. In fact, some of my students are right there in the chat, and they are wonderful. I'm pretty sure both of those are... oh, no. Wait, are both of those second years? Munin, are you a second year student? Who are you? But yeah, so some of these people in chat right now are my real life students. And I love them all to absolute pieces. And I love teaching. It's been such an eye-opening experience for me over the past year to be able to teach these students. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this hour-long lecture that you willingly put yourself through. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and my name has been BlazyBud. And I still don't know how to time this.